This is episode 25, and today will be all about how to be a shockingly great performer. Welcome to Freya Singing Tips, the podcast. My name is Freya Casey, professional singer and vocal coach. I have been on stage my whole life, and I'm passionate about helping you discover the awesomeness in your own voice. Opera, musical theater, jazz, pop, folk, rock. I have done it all, and I want to give you golden nuggets of advice on how to be the master of your voice. So you got your singing technique down pretty much to where you think you can be on stage. You enjoy being on stage, however, you have the feeling that you don't really truly connect with your audience. How do you truly connect to your audience so your audience will enjoy what you're doing, and above all, you enjoy what you're doing, and most importantly, that you actually touch someone to where they will walk out from that performance and not forget right away what they felt, but to where the next day and the next week after seeing and hearing your performance, it will still stick with them, that feeling that you evoked in them, that you went deep down and connected with them on a really deep level. How do you do that? Now, the first thing that is really, really important, and I always tell my students that, don't be boring. How are you boring? You're boring if you do not take risks. As a performer on stage, you always need to take risks. If you've ever watched an actor, whether it be in the theater or on the movie screen, they take big risks. They do not care what anybody thinks. Only then can you really bring across your humanness and be real. As soon as you're holding back, people will know. Your audience is very intelligent. They have emotional intelligence. They're very empathetic. So you cannot hold back. You need to let everything out. I know it's easier said than done. It's a long process to learn how to do that, to where you're not very self-conscious and you're watching yourself from the outside, always thinking, well, am I looking weird now? Ooh, this pitch wasn't perfect. And all these million things go through your head while you're performing. But while you are in that state of really watching yourself from the outside, you're not going to be able to really truly connect with your audience, and also you're not really going to connect with yourself to where it really flows. You need to get in the zone. It is very hard to get in the zone to where it really flows, and everybody has experienced it when you do get in the zone and everything just happens easily and you're really in the song, you're in the music, you're feeling it, and you're transporting it, you're really coming across. That's the most awesome place you can be in. It can definitely be trained. So how do you train that? First of all, the most important element for a singer, I think, is you have to know your story. Don't ever sing a song and think that it has nothing to do with you, or that it's just this cute or emotional story, but you're talking about somebody else. You have to be it. You have to be in the story. It has to be your own story. And almost every song that I have sung so far, I remember some time in my life where I felt that way, or that was going on, even if it's not going on right now. If I'm singing about a painful song, like Heartbroken or something, I remember the time when I felt that, and I'm really in it. The most important thing that you need to remember is don't think of abstract things. Words like love or hope, joy, happy. These are all very abstract terms. So in order to be more real and to really have a picture in front of your inner eye, you do need to have a picture. You need to think of a very concrete situation, a very concrete feeling. And you get to that concrete place to really make it more real by asking yourself, what does it feel like? What's my heart rate? How does my body feel? What is my breath like? Am I cold? Am I warm? Am I hot? Am I relaxed? Do I have tension? all these things. What does it smell like? All these things. The more concrete elements you can bring to it, the more specific you can actually communicate to your audience what you're trying to say. So in real life, there are so many concrete things that are involved with anything that you may feel or think or want that you need to really transport that into your singing part and really come up with these concrete things. We always did an exercise when I went to acting class. We always did exercises to make things more concrete and to really access your feeling. We were always asked, whenever we had a role to play, whether it be in music theater or any other area of acting, you have to basically know every single detail about the character that you're playing. You have to know that character as well as you know yourself. Any question that anybody could ask about that character, you have to be able to answer. Like, what are your hobbies? What do you like? What do you like to eat? When was the last time you were in love? All these things. You need to know every single detail, and then you can really, really, really be the story. Don't ever just stand on stage and look pretty. That is boring, and I won't empathize with you. It's like, yeah, it sounds good, and while you're singing and your voice may be totally awesome, while it's going on, while the music is happening, I may be totally overwhelmed because it's so beautiful, but after it's over and I go home, it's not going to really stick. And you want this feeling to stick. You want it to stay with your audience. You want them to go home and be so deeply touched to where the next day they still have this feeling of, I really felt with that person. There was, it touched me. I totally identified myself with that because I have gone through that and I know what that feels like. So heartbreaking or so overwhelming. And let's be honest, okay, I'm a woman. Maybe it only happens to women, but there are certain movies whenever something happens, like a happy ending and they finally kiss or something really wonderful happens, I cry just because I apply it to my own life. I see that scene and it's so overwhelming to me just because it symbolizes everything that I wish for. Everything that I'm dreaming of or I've ever dreamed of. That's what everybody wants. Everybody wants happiness, but everybody has experienced heartbreaking moments. And whenever I see something like that, I cry just because I know it. I remember and I'm overwhelmed just because I'm so close to what is happening. I'm seeing, I'm feeling what they are going through, the actors on screen. So that is a huge thing. And in order to do that, you do need to take risks, even when you sing. Don't just stand there and be like like stiff as a stick. It is a long process to learn that, but try to really ask yourself, what gestures would I make? What would the gestures be if I truly communicated with someone? Just watch yourself when you're talking to someone every once in a while. When you actually talk to someone, you are gesturing. I mean, I'm really bad at that, or maybe it's a good thing. I think actually it's a good thing. It makes me more human. Have you ever paid attention to where your hand gestures actually take place? They don't take place like around your waistline. That's kind of fake. So that's when you're not really going through with it and not really doing it all the way. When you are truly, really feeling something and something is really important to you, well, you look into someone's eyes when you speak, and while you do that, your gestures actually take place around your heart level. It doesn't go below your waistline. That's kind of fake. So try to pay attention to that when you sing and when you do gestures. Don't fall into these, cliche gestures. Make sure your gestures are real. Just practice a little bit. Just practice saying, I love you so much, and I want you to stay with me for the rest of my life. It may be a little cheesy, but what would your gestures actually be when you truly say that? Now, on the contrary, what would your gestures be when you tell someone, you idiot, you're making me so mad, I can't stand you anymore? So what would your gestures be, and where do they take place? Did you notice that they usually take place around your chest area? So it doesn't go any lower than that. So pay attention to your gestures. And I think that's something that I hate. And I try to, have my students just not do that at all, to really get rid of the habit of doing these cliche singer movements, the gestures. You know what I mean? Like this, just stretching out your hand and just going in an arch or something like that, or just always just one hand. Oh, it's so cliche, and it's so not real. And I'm not going to empathize with you when I see that. It's just going to be like, okay, just going through the motion. Now, the next thing is be yourself. What do I mean by that? Don't try to play someone you're not. And even though the things that you're singing about may not apply to you right now at this point in your life, still, it needs to be all about you. And you need to communicate it in a way that, how would you react? How would you tell someone about what you're talking about? How would you gesture? What facial expressions would you have? Be truly you. If you try to fake something, it's going to be like a plastic face and a plastic person on stage. You want to try to just be yourself. Do it all in your own way, even vocally. Don't try to copy something one-to-one. Just try to stay in your own self, true to yourself. Your audience will know if you're authentic, and only then will you have fun, and only then will they actually really enjoy what you're doing. And finally, do it for yourself. I've talked about it on Periscope before. When you get on stage, that is not the time anymore to think about a million technical issues you may have, or, oh, what if I can't quite hit that high belted note there? I've been having difficulties, or, oh, at this point I need to remember to breathe. If you think about those many, many technical issues, you're not going to be able to really be in the story and be the story and really communicate. At that point, when you are in your performance, as soon as you step on stage and you are performing in front of an audience, you need to leave it all behind. You need to just rely on yourself and just pat yourself on your shoulder and say, okay, I have done my homework, and this right now at this moment, this is where I am technically. I'm not going to make any progress right now. This is not the time to work on something. This is not the time to be very critical of myself. You just have to rely on your autopilot, on the things that have become automatic as far as technique goes. And there will be things that are not perfect, and there will be things that are not going to work out. But at this point, in order to perform, you need to leave it all behind. I tell you what, the audience is going to appreciate you so much more. They don't appreciate perfection. And although that may be nice, that's not what sticks. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for being human and being vulnerable. And there are many, many singers. Have you ever seen them live? The pitches may be off here and then, and even old recordings of some like old singers, it wasn't all pitch perfect all the time, 100%, but it was real. What's most important is that it's real. It needs to be real. So very, very, very important. Be real and just be in it. Do it for yourself. Leave it all behind and just step on stage. Be vulnerable. Tell your story, and don't even give a care in the world what anybody thinks. You're just laying out your feelings. You're just telling someone how you feel. Nobody can blame you for that. You're not saying it's good or bad what you're feeling or thinking. It's just neutral. You're just trying to tell someone what is going on inside of you. You're just telling a story. There's no judgment. And believe me, when you get to that point where you can really let go of what's going on around you, I do that all the time. I get on stage, the music starts, and when the intro is playing, I'm in it. I'm in the story. I live through it. I'm going through it. And it's exhausting emotionally. Every performance is emotionally exhausting because I'm going through all that's going on in the songs. So when I do a whole concert, I'm going through all of that. And that can be exhausting because it's very, very condensed. So these are my tips for you to really, really, really be an outstanding and a shockingly great performer. And I put the word shockingly in there on purpose just because you want to shock your audience. It needs to be unexpected. Like the risks you take, even vocally, it needs to be a shock. It doesn't need to be on the safe side. Playing it safe is boring. You need to take risks and do it all the way. And in time, your technique will get better. So these are all little elements that get better. And in time, you're going to improve. Don't worry. The more you do this, the more you're going to improve. But I am so sick and tired of seeing so many singers on stage that just sound pretty and look pretty, but it's not really touching me deep down. You know what I mean. You've heard those singers that it really sticks with you. You just can't get enough of them just because it's something else. It's another level. It's something very special. So keep that in mind. Also, yes, I wanted to tell you that you can actually get in touch with me. Any questions you may have or any ideas for future podcast episodes or any guests that you would want to suggest to me that I could have on the podcast, you can email me directly at podcast@freyasingingtips.com. The email address will be in the show notes below or on my website, freyasingingtips.com. It's always with a dash in between. Email me. Get in touch. I'd love to hear from you, get your feedback. Let me know what you need. And also, you can go to my website, freyasingingtips.com, to get the vocal warm-up checklist. Now, first of all, there's a checklist that's a PDF that you can download for free. And also with it goes the audio program that I made for it, where I give you specific exercises. Now, if you do this on a regular basis, for sure you're going to improve, because I make sure in that program that you cover every area of your voice, all the registers and all the areas, so you can have more flexibility in your voice and also increase your range, which, as I recently talked about, we all want to increase our range. It's really important. And also, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can. There's also more info about that on my website. So jump on over there, click on Work With Me, and you will find more information about that. Thank you so much for listening today. So awesome that you were here and spent that time with me. Keep on singing all the time. Discover more and more of your awesomeness in your own voice, because you have awesomeness in your voice. You just need to learn to appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Hope to see you next Wednesday. And don't forget, always keep on singing and always keep a song in your heart. Bye.